Welcome back. This fellow named Josh Wege, Wege, if you want to look him up. There's not a lot of information out there about him, but he was in Afghanistan in 2009 doing some training of Afghan police forces. He was part of an MP unit that was trying to train them. And they had to go picked up some new trainees, and they didn't have any supplies whatsoever. So they went into a village market, town market in Afghanistan to pick up some things, blankets, food, things like that. And they were in lightly armored transport units. You know where this is going. Ran over a 200-pound IED. Blew up through the bottom of the vehicle he was in. Wounded a couple of people. A couple of people had concussions, but it took his legs off. The medic who was sitting right across from him, their knees practically touching, was uninjured. The medic applied tourniquets on both of his legs. They got him out of the vehicle, applied 3 more tourniquets because the bleeding was so bad. He managed to make it back to the hospital in Afghanistan, and then probably V-Spot in Germany, and then eventually Walter Reed, where they continue to amputate his legs below the knees. He said one of the things that kept him going was something he told his father based on a story he heard someone else say, was nothing is going to happen until I see you. Meaning I'm going to be okay, I'm going to live at least until I see you. And that was one of the things he said that motivated him to fight. Made it back to Walter Reed. Went through all of that stuff that comes with an injury like that. Was doing rehab. Had been fitted with prosthetics at this point. And they had a hallway that ran through the rehab, and on both sides of that were the rooms where they did their work. But the entire walls were just like glass or plexiglass or whatever. So people that came through the facility could see them. Some fella came through and saw him, walked up to him and said, "Hey, you ever played baseball?" He said, "Yeah, I played baseball a lot when I was in high school and younger. You want to join our team?" Yeah. So these guys had put together an organization called Wounded Warriors Amputee Baseball Team, I believe it's called. I may be wrong on the WWABT, I believe it is. And he points out that it's not associated or affiliated with the Wounded Warrior Project at all, so I just wanted to say that too. So what these guys were doing, they had put together a collection of 35 or 40 guys that wanted to do this, and they would play around the country, depending on who could make the trip, etc. So they had so many people that would show up at this event and maybe a different set at this event, etc. They would go around and play police departments, fire departments, local groups like that. And they encouraged those people to play their hardest because they didn't want sympathy. They wanted to see what they could actually do. And they did okay. They weren't, they weren't going to win the World Series or anything, but they were doing pretty good for the shape they were in. And in the process, it built up this community of amputee veterans that were encouraging each other, helping each other, growing together, learning together, being a support for each other. Just this big organization that was taking these guys from a near catastrophic situation and showing them that they could actually do something with their lives, could be productive, could have fun, could live a normal life. And he was all in. He was all in for that. And at some point, they decided to hold a camp. And this camp was for amputee children to come to learn learn how to do sports and things like that, and to learn from these guys and to see these guys doing it. So they became mentors to all these different children who were in the same boat they were in. A lot of them from birth or from something like that. The only qualifications was they had to be amputees and they had to be of a certain age. And that's been going on for quite some time. I'm pretty sure that they still do those camps. The last news story I found was from October, which was the 10-year anniversary of his injury. So it sounds like all that stuff's still going on, and he's still doing it. So he's another example, another great example of somebody who went to serve our country and was dealt the most horrendous deck of cards that he could be dealt. And instead of folding, he decided to play the cards he was dealt. Decided to do it to help himself, decided to do it to help fellow veterans, decided to do it to help disabled children, their families. And just the list goes on and on of what this guy has undertaken and been a part of for good. And I heard a podcast with him. It's one of really the only bits of information it's where I got all this from, you can garner. But the guy at the end of the podcast said this terrorist that planted this bomb was seeking to do evil and end life. But what he actually did was create an unstoppable force of good that was all about living. And I just thought that was a fantastic way to put that. So I stole it. But anyway, Josh is one of who knows how many tens, hundreds of thousands of wounded veterans that are walking around, rolling around, whatever, that are not letting their disabilities dictate how they live their life and dictate how they can help others live a better life. And to me, that is probably one of the most important lessons that we can learn. I mean, here's some of these folks that have it rough. I mean, let's be honest. And some of us able-bodied folks, some of us have it rough or think we have it rough. But what these guys managed to do is nothing short of inspirational. There's nothing that you cannot accomplish if you set your mind to it. And they prove it on a daily basis. And I'm not talking about getting up and going to the bathroom by yourself or running a half a mile or something like that, but affecting lives in such a positive way, such an incredibly positive way, that these people will never doubt themselves. They will never stop giving back from the examples that they've been shown. And it's just creating this wave of good, of humanity that's spreading out through the world. I know that sounds kind of, cliche or whatever, but it's absolutely true. So Josh Wege, thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for being willing to strap on the boots and serve our country. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for continuing to do what you're doing on a daily basis, and more power to you, bro. I cannot express fully what an incredible person you are, and never stop being you, because you're an incredibly important member of this country, important member of the human race. Thank you, Josh.